Hello and welcome back to our channel. This is part 2 of our previous overseas adventures. We've done our 2017-2018 adventures in a previous video, so if you haven't seen that, pop back and see that. It's the same day for us, different day for you. So Jesse's pulled out the beer.
No, it's off camera. No one knows about it.
I see. It's getting late in the day. You deserve
I guess I can show it just in case I need to have a sip at any point.
Yeah, you need to wet the whistle. So today we're moving on to our 2019 adventures.
Which were on the continents of Europe and New Zealand.
We went back to New Zealand for a third time. But that's not where this starts. We're going to start off in country number 15 for us, which is Singapore. So the first time we went to Europe, we went via Qatar. This time we went via Singapore.
We had about 19 hours layover in Singapore, so we knew we were going to get around the town.
We couldn't waste all that time by not getting outside of the airport. So we did.
What we didn't expect was Dana being very sick.
Yeah.
Was it just jet lag? What was it?
So long haul flights don't really agree with me. My ears go weird. I end up with a headache. I can't sleep on them. So then when I get to the destination, I'm just useless unless I have a sleep. But we only had 19 hours in Singapore, so there was no time for a sleep, or at least no time for a sleep in a hotel. But I did practice sleeping on a park bench in the hawker market where Jesse lined up for 45 minutes for chicken rice.
55 minutes for chicken rice, and I think they forgot the sauce, so I experienced plain chicken on plain rice. But it was Michelin starred plain chicken on plain rice.
Delicious. And I had a sleep on a table. Win-win. And then on the grass in a park, I had a sleep there as well.
Yeah, those ants were with us, I remember, yeah.
I also desperately needed to puke at one point.
You definitely did it in Starbucks, inside Starbucks, in a Starbucks cup.
Yes, we only went into the Starbucks because I desperately needed to puke, and we needed somewhere for me to be able to puke. Jesse grabbed a cup for me to puke in, but it was a see-through cup, so...
Yeah, no one saw, just me.
There's no footage of this. I don't think anyone even noticed me puking in the middle of a Starbucks. It was bright yellow. It looked like a passion in a drink.
Oh goodness.
This is way oversharing. Anyway, there's no footage, so you're safe. You won't be seeing any of it. But also, in amongst all the sleeping in parks and spewing in Starbucks, we managed to get to the Gardens by the Bay.
Yep, that's the one with the big high fake planty things that you walk under, isn't it? And then,
yes, they have like these big stalk things.
Yeah, and they've got like a walkway up in the air that you can go on. We didn't do it that day though. But we did walk into that amazing hotel with the ship on top.
Marina Bay Sands Hotel. And then we had to rush back to the airport and jump on a plane to head back to Europe, to...
Germany.
This one doesn't increase our country number because we had been to Germany before.
We landed in Munich.
And the first person that we encountered when we got there was
a sneaky Russian. Someone was selling tickets at the train station that happened to be the exact ticket that we were after. His price was better, so I took it. Only we didn't have money to give to him, so he was happy to ride the train with us so we could pay him at the other end, which wasn't really going to work for us or him if we got caught.
I thought it was a terrible idea from the beginning. I was being like, this is a scam. No, Jesse, do not agree to this. But we got on the train anyway. And then I was like, Jesse, we can't do this. This is going to end badly. So we ran off the train without telling the guy. And went and bought our own ticket and got back on, and he was still strolling around trying to find somebody else to...
I may have received advice from a friend who lives in Germany who said, no, get off the train now.
He didn't believe me, but he believed his friend. Anyway, we made it into the town of Munich. Flights from Australia to Europe tend to get in pretty early in the morning, and there was not much open yet when we got into the centre of Munich. We managed to find ourselves a very cute little coffee spot in the central market area and had a stand-up coffee. A bit of a European thing that doesn't happen here, just standing up to drink your coffee.
Yeah, and they can be cheaper too, a lot cheaper if you're going to stand up and not take up some of their seating.
And then we went over to the main square.
Yeah, where there's the amazing clock that has the little figures that dance around every hour or so.
Waited there for the hour. Grabbed some currywurst for breakfast.
Delicious.
I miss that so much about Germany and Austria. So good. And almost always gluten-free, which, you know, is great for me.
Then we made our way over to Schloss Nymphenburg at some point that day. That was marvellous.
Huge castle wall. I think it's like the summer residence or something. It was a summer residence. It's a museum now. And they had like really impressive grounds with a lake. It was very cool. And then we met up with Tom.
Ah, yes, my mate over in Germany, near Austria. So we got picked up by him in Munich, I guess. Driven down all the way to Fieberbrunn in Austria, a ski town, little ski area. Tom wasn't feeling the best. Didn't even go skiing, was feeling under the weather the whole time. But he managed to help us have a good time.
Yes. We managed to cut sick on the slopes, but poor Tom was too sick to come with us, so he stayed back at the place. The funny thing about where we were staying, which is owned by some of his family, was they'd had a massive snowstorm right before we got there, and all of the streets were blocked off with huge walls of snow, which is something we would never see in Australia.
Yeah, like 2.5 meters high of snow. Insane.
Ridiculous.
That was our first and only time of snowboarding in Europe, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. In Austria. Yeah. And then we headed on to Salzburg, another Austrian city, and one of our favourite places to this day. We did some strolls by the river, saw the bridge with all of the love locks on it. We didn't add any, we forgot to bring one with us. Yeah. That's our excuse.
And yes, of course, we went up to the castle, which is incredible.
But not before we'd gone to the markets and I'd got myself a nice little cup of glue wine. So we started to walk up to the castle and then decided it was going to be too far. So we walked back down the hill and caught the funicular up to the castle. And then from the castle, there's great views out over Salzburg. You can see an aerial view of basically the whole town and it looks so picturesque. But then on the other side of the castle, you can see out to the Alps and to the house where they filmed The Sound of Music. Or well, the house where they filmed the outdoor scenes from The Sound of Music.
Yeah, which is currently a hotel that you can stay at.
We also went to see some of the other Sound of Music locations there, like the fountain that they do the Do-Re-Mi song around, and a graveyard, which is very picturesque. They didn't actually film there, but I'm pretty sure it inspired the film scene that they created back in the studio. And then we popped into Vienna, took a train from Salzburg to Vienna, though I believe there was a train accident or some kind of hold-up that meant we were delayed sitting in Salzburg for a very long time.
There was something on the tracks, apparently. And we got a bus in the end? No.
I think so.
Yes, so what did you get in Vienna? Gluten-free Maccas?
Yes, I found gluten-free burgers at McDonald's. I love Europe. They have gluten-free burgers at McDonald's.
She did not love Europe till that moment. Epic white buildings, eh? Yeah, the Vienna just, it's like they just keep going, that same level of, 5 stories high buildings, just every block for many blocks.
It looks so grand and impressive.
Very grand, Vienna.
And from Vienna, we headed over to Jesse's homeland.
What? Is that Poland or something?
Not quite.
So I am 1/4 Polish, so I guess that's a homeland of sorts.
But yes, we went to Poland. It was country number 17, and we spent most of our time in Krakow.
Krakow, indeed. What a place.
With the Wawel Castle and the epic medieval town square. Feels like you've gone back in history.
Yeah, huge town square. It's great. Oh, but my favourite thing was the ghost tour at night.
Yes, that was epic.
It was very scary.
The guy who led us was so good. He told the best stories and it was proper scary about real historic murders that happened. Definitely do a ghost tour if you're in Krakow.
Yeah,
it's the place for it.
It's one of those ones where you just kind of pay at the end what you can, and it was beyond worth it.
And we stayed in the coolest underground Airbnb. It was so small and tiny, but it just felt right. It was just off the main square kind of area.
Yeah, great location. Short walk back to the centre. The main square also has horse and carts, many of them, waiting to take you to places.
And screaming at you to get on there.
A little annoying.
Pretty funny though.
Yeah.
We caught up with some of Jesse's relatives.
Went
Bit
to
of
a
a
restaurant.
Communication barrier with them not knowing much English and us knowing no Polish. So.
Yeah, yes, we were the problem.
Yeah, pretty much. Useless Australians. And then we quickly popped into Warsaw, had a bit of a walk around their old town, went to a cool food market there, and then popped on over to Scotland, country number 18. I feel like coming from Krakow to Scotland, we dipped from one medieval town to another. Scotland is just so epic. I think it might still be my actual favourite country. I just love the Scottish people as well. It feels so right to be there.
And we only did Edinburgh, didn't we?
Yeah, just Edinburgh, but we got around Edinburgh. We went up to the Edinburgh Castle, we walked through all of the cool medieval streets.
Did the whiskey experience next to Edinburgh Castle.
Thus beginning Jesse's great obsession with whiskey.
Has had some other whiskey experiences of our own there.
We went on another walking tour in the snow this time. The walking tour wasn't as good as Krakow, but it's memorable because it was snowing while we did it.
That was very cold.
It was pretty cold. The Harry Potter one was really good, actually. We did a Harry Potter walking tour there as well, because there are quite a few locations that inspired the Harry Potter book. We stayed in a tiny little box room. It was like sleeping in a cupboard. It was the exact size of the bed, so we just like crawled into the room on the bed.
Yeah, not used to those ones, but they call them a box room. Yeah.
It was so cheap though, and so worth it. It was pretty quirky.
Yeah, and it was just down the road from it was a pub called the Canny, and it was fantastic. Definitely not near the centre of Edinburgh at this point.
Walls of whiskey in there. Oh, that's right. I got a cute Scotland beanie that I was obsessed with, and then I lost it in the whiskey experience place, and I was devastated. But then we went back the next day and we found it again, so all was right in the world. And then we were off to Portugal, country number 19. So we started in Porto in Portugal, which is a port on the river.
Where they make port.
Yes, so we obviously tried some port while we were there. We had to, of course. Took home some little taster bottles too, which was great.
I don't know if, we still haven't drank that one that we brought home.
Maybe we haven't. I'm not sure.
When in Portugal, eat the Francesinha sandwich. Oh, delicious.
It looked like a heart attack in a sandwich.
A cheese float.
We went over the epic bridge over the Porto River, where you can go on the high level or the low level.
That is the greatest bridge to walk over.
And then we also went on the cable car that goes up there as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's one option how to get down from the bridge, from the high level.
And we were pretty obsessed with this bar that was on like a grassy hill in the middle of
grassy knoll.
Porto.
Yeah, there was it was called Base Bar, and it was an outside bar. It was just cool. Had music playing and bean bags to relax on. You could go there during the day or the night. It was right next to the Torres, some tower.
Yeah, one of the clock tower kind of things in the middle of town. We got a little too relaxed there one night and started thinking that we were vloggers, which now we are.
Hello, Mr. Cameraman.
This is compelling stuff. People will watch this for generations.
That's pretty funny.
And then we took a train down to Lisbon.
And we were thinking, Porto was amazing, Lisbon won't compare.
We had kind of been going to a lesser known city and the capital city in a few countries on this trip already, and often the lesser known city was better than the capital. So we thought the same would happen with Porto and Lisbon, but they were both amazing, and they're still two of our favourite cities.
Yeah, it's the hills that do it for me. Something about it, being able to go up, come back down, have a look around.
Being able to see everything because it's staggered up.
That's like what it is.
But yeah, Lisbon's full of steep streets, which you can avoid by taking the funicular up instead, which we definitely did at least once. And trams, there's trams everywhere in Lisbon.
Tram 28. Remember tram 28?
Yeah, we went on the historic tram, had a cruise around. And then before we left Lisbon, we popped over to Belém and saw the memorial there. Could look out over to Cristo Rei, I think it's called. And we saw the palace at Belém as well. And mostly Lisbon, apart from the trams, was just full of waterside walks where we saw obviously the water and the bridges, and there were some rock towers there, some sand art. We stumbled across a light show on one of the major buildings. Just so many good memories.
There was someone selling art under the walkway as you walked under the street, and we bought a little piece that is hanging in one of our bathrooms.
Yes. It's a teeny tiny one because that's all we could fit in our suitcase, but it looks great as we go to the toilet.
Yeah.
From there, we went to Paris. We had already been to France once before, so once again, the country count doesn't go up.
Had we been to Paris? Where had we been? Oh no, we'd driven to Nancy and all that. Yeah.
Jessie had been to Paris before. I hadn't, so this was my first time in Paris.
And once we got to France,
we went to our com, which was way out in the sticks. Okay, not quite in the sticks, but not very close to the city centre.
Yeah, it was pretty far.
It was cultural.
Had a view over a graveyard, but also a view to the Eiffel Tower.
We could see the Eiffel Tower, so that makes it amazing accommodation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we, of course, got closer to the Eiffel Tower, because you have to.
Yeah, and we Arc de Triomphe we saw the
Louvre.
The Louvre.
Sacré-Cœur. Montmartre.
There was the riots happening every Sunday at this point.
That's right. So we saw the burnt out, smashed up Champs-Élysées.
Lots of damage had been done the day before we got there.
And we saw Notre Dame right before it burned down. Like a month later it burned down.
Yeah. We met up with my brother and his partner actually that day. And he returned to Paris the day before the Notre Dame burnt down.
I remember having a nice little takeaway beer by the river, watching the boats go by. So romantic.
Country 20.
Czechia. Or the Czech Republic, depending on what century you're living in.
Or Czechoslovakia if you're really,
That's
if you're pre-89.
A lot of names, that place.
My fave. I love Prague. It might be the super cheap beers, but it is easy on the eye as well.
We, of course, went over the Charles Bridge, famous Charles Bridge. There was some cool music being played there at the time. So we took the funicular up to Petrin Tower, and we went up to Prague Castle and St. Vitus's Cathedral, which are all in the same kind of complex area. On the way down from there, we went to a vineyard and had a beverage with a view. I feel like Prague was all about the view, because after that, we went to the dancing house, or the Fred and Ginger as they call it. Looks really cool from the outside. And had another drink with a view. We went to a park that we recommend to go to.
We saw some squirrels.
Running around the park. Oh, still obsessed with squirrels. We need more squirrels in Australia.
Let's introduce them.
I'm sure the farmers would disagree, but we took a little walk across the water and dipped down onto an island and spent a bit of time by the water there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did we go to the Hot Dog Hill after that?
We found Sunset Park, or Sunset Hill they call it, the locals do, and yeah, there was someone with a hot dog beanbag and a cool dog.
Yeah.
Watched the sun go down over the cathedral. It was beautiful. I want to put that scene on a wall. And had a 30-cent wine while we were there as well. There was a little cafe at the top of the hill with the cheapest wine I've seen in my life. Yeah. And then we got obsessed with a cocktail bar as well called Hemingway's before we left.
Oh yeah, that was good, yeah.
They make some good cocktails there. And then we headed off to Sweden, country number 21.
Still got a few to go, don't we? You've been to more than that.
Only one more than that.
Really? You're only up to 22?
Yeah.
I thought you were higher.
22 countries is what I've been to, so obviously there's at least one more country after this. We got obsessed with the Vasa Museum there.
Oh, you gotta go to the Vasa Museum when you go to Stockholm.
It's a museum that revolves around a boat.
That sunk in 1620 something in the harbour.
It did not get very far from the shore before it sunk. A resounding failure in that sense.
It was a little too tall and not wide enough for its own good.
And too many gun decks. Anyway, you learn all about it in the museum. It was only salvaged in the 1960s, so not very long ago, and put in the museum there. But besides that, we did lots of walking around and appreciating the sights of Stockholm, that's the one. The metros in Stockholm have really cool artwork, so we went on a mission to see as many of the metros with the cool artwork as we could while we were there. We got through a few. Then it was on to our final country of this European jaunt.
We ended it in Amsterdam, just with a quick overnight near the airport. We did, at one point I wasn't even willing to go into Amsterdam. I didn't think we'd have enough time, but we did. We ducked in, we ate some frites.
Had a little stroll around the streets at night.
Not sure what they call fries. What do they call fries?
I think it's still frites, isn't it? Fries of some kind.
Yeah, had a stroll around, walk through the red light district, the usual, all the touristy stuff.
We just walked through, we didn't stop. And then we sadly had to fly back to Australia, where we squeezed in one more overseas trip for that year, which was back to New Zealand. So still at 22 countries, but one more final trip back to New Zealand for the South Island this time.
Ah, Queenstown. In the old Queenstown, not Queanbeyan or Queensland.
We'd only been to the North Island before that.
Another ski trip. We only got one day of snow.
Yeah, the weather didn't work in our favour there. Most of our trip centred around our time in Queenstown though. The Queenstown airport is really epic for starters. There's a huge big mountain right beside the airport that you see as soon as you walk out the door. And then Queenstown itself is just beautiful. It's lakeside with giant mountains all around it. We had our accommodation right in the centre in another Airbnb where the guy, I think, was just sleeping on his lounge and he'd segregated off a little area for us.
Yes, a lovely Frenchman. We would stay there again, very cheap.
Very convenient too.
Very convenient.
Short walk to Fieberbrunn, the most famous place in Queenstown.
I love it. I've had nothing but good experiences there. I think we had it 3 times in those 4 or 5 days.
You actually had a beer that was in a self-filling cup at one point too, which was sorcery.
That was sorcery indeed.
So good. I'd never seen that before. I mean, I'm sure it exists elsewhere, but we found it in a pub in Queenstown.
So we drove to the Wanaka direction to go to Cardrona ski field. Yeah, we didn't get any in that day. No skiing, no snowboarding. So we went to Cardrona Distilling across the road. Got
some butterscotch liqueur, which was quite expensive, but we didn't have to pay for ski tickets that day, so it worked out.
So I guess we must have went back the next day and skied.
Yeah.
What happened?
Braved the sketchy road up there in the hire car with bald tires.
The hire car was not confidence inducing, but just check out those hills. Driving down those dirt roads with bald tires, 2-wheel drive car. I was a bit worried. We were sliding around.
I figured we'd be fine. If the bus could do it, why couldn't we do it? And we popped into a winery that was very picturesque as well, with a view of the foggy mountains on the rainy day.
Oh yeah, the Wanaka tree.
We did really enjoy the drives around that day as well when we weren't snowboarding. Saw some really cool blue streams from viewpoints, and it was just great.
That alpine water as it fills up the lakes is blue as a blue thing.
And that was our last trip overseas. Since then, we've been stuck in Australia. But hopefully soon we can get back out there exploring the overseas world again. I'm itching for it.
Indeed, it would be fun.
So subscribe for when we finally get there, which will hopefully be not much longer. If you'd like to see more videos from us, please subscribe, like this video, leave us a comment of your favorite place that you saw in our video, or your favorite place that you've been, because we want to get out there and explore it. And we'll see you in the next one. Then it was on to our final country of this European jaunt, which was...
New Zealand? Oh, okay.
New Zealand is not in Europe.
Oh, the European section, yes. That was just after we drank some port at a port joint. A Porto. Prague! Yeah.
You can't get too drunk when you're tasting wine.
No,
and you're driving.
No. Gotta have a designated driver. That was clearly Dana.